The alarm bells rang across the council station like the cry of a dying animal. Admiral Hayek ran down the white halls, his blue skin pale with fear. He had never heard these alarms before. No one in the Galactic Council had heard them for over 300 years. The council chamber was full of panic. 7 different alien species sat around the great circle table, all talking at once. Their voices mixed together in a terrible noise of fear and confusion. Hyuk slammed his hand on the table. The sound echoed through the room. "Silence," he shouted. "We must think clearly." Counselor Minji, a tall woman with silver hair from the peaceful Kalani people, stood up. Her hands shook as she held a data pad. "The message came from Taemin Thur," she said. "The entire planet is in danger." Hyuk felt his stomach drop. Taemin III was home to over 2 million people. Families lived there, children played in the safe streets, scientists studied in quiet libraries. It was supposed to be the most peaceful place in the galaxy. "Show us the message," Hyuk said. The main screen came to life. A face appeared covered in blood and dirt. It was Captain Jisoo of the Taemin Defense Force. Behind him, explosions lit up the sky. Buildings burned in the distance. "This is Taemin. Thurg calling any council ship," Jisoo said. His voice cracked with desperation. "The Vorthan Empire has surrounded our planet. They have over 1,000 ships. We have 20 patrol boats." He paused as another explosion shook his building. Dust fell from the ceiling. "They gave us 1 day to surrender. They want us to become slaves. If we refuse, they will destroy everything. Every city, every person. Please, someone help us." The message ended. The council chamber was silent. Hyuk looked around the table. The Melody Ambassador, a small creature with large eyes, was crying. The Zalani representative had turned green with sickness. Even the proud Kavari delegate looked terrified. "How many ships can we gather?" asked Counselor Taro, the military advisor. Hyuk checked his data. His heart sank as he read the numbers. 400 ships, he said. "Most are science vessels and transport ships. We have maybe 50 real warships." "And the Vorthans?" Minji asked. "Over 1,200 ships. All built for war. All designed to kill." Hayek put down his datapad. "We cannot win this fight." The room erupted in arguments. Some wanted to try diplomacy. Others suggested evacuating the planet. A few spoke of surrender to save lives. But everyone knew the truth. The Vorthan Empire did not make deals. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they could not use. Counselor Wanbin, an old Melody with scars on his face, stood up slowly. "I have seen what the Vorthans do," he said. His voice was quiet, but everyone listened. "My homeworld tried to surrender to them 50 years ago. They took our surrender. Then they killed half our people anyway. They said it was to teach us respect." The room fell silent again. "We must try something," Minji said. "Those are innocent people on Taemin Threed." "But what can we do?" Hyuk asked. "Our ships are not built for war. Our people have never fought a real battle. The Vorthans have been conquering worlds for centuries." Taro cleared his throat. "There is one option," he said. Everyone looked at him. "The Deathworlders." Several council members made sounds of disgust. Others looked confused. "You mean the humans?" Minji asked. "Yes," Taro said. "They joined the council 30 years ago. But they never come to meetings. They stay in their own space. Some say they are afraid of us. Others say we are afraid of them." Hyuk remembered the day humans joined the council. It was a strange time. The humans came in ships that looked like weapons. Their ambassador was a small creature that walked on 2 legs. She was polite but cold. She signed the papers and left. Since then, they had traded with the council but never asked for help. They never offered help either. "Why do we call them Deathworlders?" asked the young Kavari delegate. Wanbin answered. "Their planet is called Earth. Our scientists studied it when they first contacted us. It is the most dangerous world anyone has ever seen." He activated the display. An image of Earth appeared. It looked blue and green and beautiful. But the data next to it told a different story. The gravity is twice what most of us can handle, Wanbin continued. The atmosphere has poison gas that burns. The weather can kill you in minutes. Storms that throw ice from the sky. Waves of water taller than buildings. And the life forms. The image changed to show Earth's animals. Giant creatures with teeth like knives. Tiny insects that carried deadly diseases. Plants that could poison you with a touch. Everything on that planet is trying to kill everything else, Wanbin said. Yet somehow these humans survived. They became the dominant species. Our xenobiologists say it should be impossible. So they are tough, said the Kavari delegate. But can they fight wars in space? Taro pulled up more data. Intelligence reports say their ships are built very strangely. Thick armor, powerful engines, weapons that seem too big for ships their size. But they have never used them in combat. At least, not that we know of. Hyok thought about this. The humans were mysterious. Their ships looked dangerous, but they had been peaceful neighbors for 30 years. Would they really help? Could they help? Even if they wanted to fight, Minji said. How many ships do they have? Unknown, Taro admitted. They have never told us. Our scouts have seen their border patrols. Maybe a few hundred ships, not enough to match the Vorthons. The council argued for another hour. Time was running out. In 18 hours, the Vorthons would begin their attack on Taman III. 2 million innocent people would die. Finally, Hyok made the decision. We will ask them, he said. Captain Do-Yun, prepare your ship. Captain Do-Yun nodded. He was young, for a ship captain, but he was brave. His ship, the Peaceful Dawn, was one of the fastest in the council fleet. What should I tell them? Do-Hyun asked. Hyok thought carefully. Tell them the truth. Tell them about Taman III. Tell them about the innocent people who will die. Tell them we have no right to ask for their help. And if they refuse? Hyok looked around the room at his fellow council members. All of them looked scared and helpless. Then we try to evacuate as many people as we can before the Vorthons attack. Do-Hyun saluted and left the chamber. Within an hour, his ship was racing toward human space. Meanwhile, in the Taman system, the Vorthon fleet waited like a pack of hungry wolves. Supreme Commander Garrick stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher. He was tall and covered in thick scales. His teeth were sharp like a predator's. Any word from the planet? He asked his aide. They are still discussing surrender, terms, the aide replied. Garrick laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. Let them discuss. In the morning we will show them what happens to those who waste our time. He looked out at his fleet. Over 1,200 ships all ready for war. Each one could destroy a city. Together they could turn a planet into dust. The council worlds had lived in peace for too long. They had forgotten that the galaxy was a dangerous place. Contact the other fleets, Garrick ordered. Tell them to prepare for the next phase. After we finish here, we will take their shipyards, then their trade routes. The council will learn to serve the Vorthon Empire, or they will learn to die. The aide bowed and left to send the messages. Garrick smiled as he watched the peaceful planet below. Soon it would burn, and after that the entire galaxy would burn until only the strong remained. But far away, a small council ship was entering human space, carrying a desperate message that would change everything. Captain Do-Yun's ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. He had never been here before. The first thing he noticed was how empty it looked. No trade stations, no welcome beacons, just dark space and distant stars. Then, his sensors started beeping. Ships were coming toward him. Fast. This is Captain Do-Yun of the council ship Peaceful Dawn, he broadcast on all frequencies. I carry an urgent message for human authorities. This is a humanitarian emergency. 3 human ships appeared on his screen. They were smaller than council ships but looked much thicker, like they were built to take damage. Strange weapon ports dotted their hulls. Do-Hyun had never seen anything like them. Council vessel, this is Commander Tae-Hyun of the Terran Border Patrol, came the reply. The voice was calm but cold. "State your business in human space." "I need to speak with your military leaders," Do-hyun said. "Millions of innocent people are about to die. We need help." There was a long pause. "Follow our lead ship. Do not deviate from the course. Any aggressive action will result in your destruction." Do-hyun followed the human ships deeper into their territory. As they traveled, he saw more ships in the distance. They moved in perfect formations, like schools of fish, but these fish had teeth. After 6 hours, they reached a huge space station. It was built around an asteroid, but Do-hyun could see weapons everywhere. This was not a trade station. This was a fortress. "Council ship dock at Bay 7, Commander," Tae-hyun ordered. "You will be escorted to meet with Admiral Sunho." Do-hyun docked his ship and walked through the airlock. 2 human guards waited for him. They were shorter than most council species, but they moved like predators. Their uniforms were dark gray, and they carried weapons he did not recognize. The halls of the station were different from council buildings. Everything was made of metal. The lights were bright and harsh. Warning signs covered the walls in human writing. This place was built for war. They brought him to a large room with a round table. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls. In the center sat Admiral Sunho. She was a middle-aged human woman with short black hair and cold eyes. Scars marked her hands and face. "Captain Do-hyun," she said without standing up. "You said millions of people are about to die. Explain." Do-hyun told her everything. The Vorthon attack on Taemin III, the 1,200 warships, the deadline that was now only 14 hours away. As he spoke, other humans entered the room. Military officers with serious faces. When he finished, Admiral Sunho was quiet for a long time. She looked at the maps on the wall. She looked at her officers. Finally, she spoke. "General Yuna, what do we know about the Vorthon Empire?" General Yuna was a tall woman with silver hair. She activated a display. Images of Vorthon ships and worlds appeared. "They have been expanding for 200 years, she said. "They conquer worlds and enslave the populations. They have destroyed 17 different species completely. Our intelligence says they are planning to attack Council space within the next 5 years. "How many ships?" Admiral Sunho asked. "Total fleet strength. Approximately 15,000 vessels. Most are heavy cruisers and battleships. They are currently spread across their empire, but they can concentrate forces quickly." Do-hyun felt his hope dying. If the humans knew how strong the Vorthons were, they would never help. 15,000 ships was more than the entire council had ever built. And their current force at Taemin III? Admiral Sunho continued. 1,200 ships, as the captain reported, led by Supreme Commander Garrick. He is known for extreme brutality. He destroyed the entire Zelon civilization last year. 3 billion dead. Admiral Sunho nodded slowly. "Commander Kyung-soo, what is our current fleet strength?" A younger officer checked his datapad. 847 ships ready for immediate deployment. Another 200 in maintenance. Reserve fleets could add another 1,000 ships within a week. Do-hyun was surprised. The humans had more ships than anyone realized, but it still was not enough. "Captain Do-hyun," Admiral Sunho said, turning to him. "Your council has never helped humanity. When we asked to join, you made us wait 5 years. When we requested trade agreements, you gave us the worst terms. When we offered to share technology, you refused. Why should we help you now?" Do-hyun felt shame burn in his chest. Everything she said was true. The council had treated the humans badly. Many species thought humans were dangerous because of their violent world. They had been kept at arm's length for 30 years. "Because it is the right thing to do," Do-hyun said quietly. "Those people on Taemin III never hurt humanity. They are teachers and doctors and children. They do not deserve to die because their leaders made mistakes." Admiral Sunho stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked at her officers. "General Yuna, your assessment?" "The Vorthons are a threat to galactic stability," General Yuna said. "If they destroy the council, they will eventually come for us. Better to stop them now while we can choose the battlefield." "Commander Kyung-soo?" "Our ships are ready, Admiral. Our crews have been training for this kind of fight their whole lives. Captain Suyung, a woman with battle scars on her arms, spoke up. The moral issue is clear. They are targeting civilians. That makes them war criminals. We do not negotiate with war criminals. Admiral Sunho stood up. Very well. Captain Do-hyun, return to your ship. Send this message to your council. Request received. Terran fleet responding. Maintain distance from target system. Human forces en route. Do-hyun could not believe it. You will help? But the odds... Captain, Admiral Sunho interrupted. You asked for our pity. You will not get it. Pity is for the weak. You will get our justice. And justice is for the strong. As Do-hyun left the station, alarms began ringing throughout human space. Ships that had been hidden in asteroid fields came to life. Crews that had been on leave rushed back to their vessels. The largest military mobilization in human history was beginning. On Earth, President Ji-won signed the mobilization order. Article 7 of the Terran Charter, she said to her cabinet. No sentient being shall suffer genocide while Terra draws breath. Within 2 hours, 800 human warships were moving toward Taman III. They traveled in perfect formation, like a pack of wolves heading to hunt. On the bridge of the flagship Iron Will, Admiral Sunho watched the fleet readouts. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built to survive in the vacuum of space, designed to fight against impossible odds, crewed by people who had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. Admiral, Commander Tae-hyun reported, all ships ready for combat jump. Signal the fleet, Admiral Sunho ordered. We jump in 30 minutes. Target, Taman system. Mission, complete destruction of hostile forces. Far away in the Taman system, Supreme Commander Garrick was enjoying his dinner. He ate meat from animals that had been hunted on conquered worlds. His officers laughed at jokes about the weak council species. Sir, his communications officer said, interrupting the meal, we intercepted a message from human space. They are sending ships. Garrick laughed loudly. The Deathworlders? How many ships? Intelligence estimates 800 vessels, sir. 800! Garrick slammed his fist on the table. I have 1,200 ships. These humans must be even more stupid than the council. His officers laughed with him. None of them had ever fought humans before. None of them knew what creatures from a death world could do when they decided to make war. Let them come, Garrick said, raising his drink. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who interfere with the Vorthan Empire. But in the depths of space, the human fleet was already preparing for something the galaxy had never seen before. 800 ships filled with the children of Earth. Creatures who had learned to fight gravity and radiation and atmospheric pressure, who had tamed lightning and split atoms and built machines that could cross the void between stars. The Vorthans thought they were the strongest predators in the galaxy. They were about to learn they were wrong. The space around Taman III had been quiet for hours. The Vorthan fleet waited in perfect formation, 1,200 ships arranged like a steel noose around the planet. Supreme Commander Garrick stood on his bridge, watching the countdown timer. 2 hours until the deadline. Suddenly, every sensor on every ship screamed at once. Space twisted and tore as the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 800 ships appeared in perfect formation, spread across 1,000 kilometers of space. But these were not like any ships the Vorthans had ever seen. What are those things? Garrick's weapons officer whispered. The human ships looked wrong. Where Vorthan vessels were sleek and elegant, human ships were thick and brutal. Their hulls were covered in heavy armor plating. Strange weapons jutted out at odd angles. They looked like they had been built to survive in hell. Sir, the communications officer said, his voice shaking. Incoming transmission from the human fleet. Put it on screen, Garrick ordered. The face that appeared was Admiral Sunho. She looked directly at Garrick with cold predator eyes. When she spoke, her voice was calm and emotionless. Vorthan vessels, this is Admiral Sunho of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have threatened innocent civilians. You have exactly 30 seconds to withdraw your forces and leave this system. This is your only warning. Garrick laughed. It echoed across his bridge. You dare threaten me, human? I have 1,200 ships. You have only 800. 29 seconds. Admiral Sunho replied, not changing expression. I am Supreme Commander Garrick of the Vorthan Empire. I have conquered 50 worlds. Your pathetic species will learn to fear. Time expired, Admiral Sunho said, and cut the transmission. For a moment, nothing happened. The two fleets faced each other across the darkness of space. Then Garrick's pride took over. All ships, attack formation, he roared. Destroy these insects. The Vorthan fleet surged forward, 1,200 ships moving to crush the smaller human force. Energy weapons charged up, glowing like angry stars. On the human flagship Iron Will, Admiral Sunho watched calmly. All ships, implement Plan Delta. Target their engines first. Leave the command ships for last. What happened next would be talked about in military academies for centuries. The human ships did not charge forward like the Vorthans expected. Instead, they spread out and began moving in complex patterns. Groups of 5 or 6 ships worked, together targeting single Vorthan vessels. The first Vorthan weapons fired. Bright blue energy beams lanced across space toward the human fleet. Direct hits that should have destroyed human ships completely. The beams struck human armor and simply stopped. The energy dispersed harmlessly across hull plating designed to survive asteroid impacts and solar radiation. Impossible, Garrick screamed. Hit them again. More weapons fired, missiles and energy beams and particle cannons. The space between the fleets lit up like a fireworks display. But when the light faded, the human ships were still there. Some had black marks on their hulls, but none were seriously damaged. Then the humans fired back. Human weapons were different. Instead of pretty energy beams, they launched solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Chunks of metal accelerated to nearly the speed of light. When they hit Vorthan ships, they did not just damage them, they went straight through them. The first Vorthan ship to die was the heavy cruiser Skullbreaker. A human destroyer called Cratermaker put 3 projectiles through its engine section. The ship exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet below. How are they doing this? Garrick's tactical officer shouted over the alarms. Captain Kyungsu of the Cratermaker could have told him. Human ships were built by creatures who had learned to fight in the worst environment imaginable. Every system had backup systems. Every weapon was designed to keep working even when the ship was falling apart. The Vorthans fought like they always had. Each ship tried to win glory for itself. Captains competed to get the most kills. Ships broke formation to chase individual targets. The humans fought like a pack. When a Vorthan ship targeted one human vessel, 5 others would appear and destroy it. When Vorthan formations tried to concentrate firepower, human ships would split up and attack from different directions. Within the first hour, 300 Vorthan ships were destroyed or crippled. The humans had lost only 12 ships, and most of those were only damaged. This is impossible, Garrick screamed, watching his fleet die around him. They are only Deathworlders. They should not be able to fight like this. But that was exactly why they could fight like this. Every human in the fleet had grown up on a world that tried to kill them. They had learned to work together or die. They had learned to be tougher than their environment or be destroyed by it. Captain Suyung of the heavy cruiser Earthquake was hunting Vorthan battleships. Her ship was larger than most human vessels, designed to fight multiple enemies at once. She had already destroyed 6 Vorthan ships. Captain, her weapons officer reported, enemy flagship is trying to retreat. Suyung looked at her tactical display. Garrick's ship, the Bone Crusher, was indeed pulling back from the battle. Around it, the remaining Vorthan ships were also trying to escape. All ships, this is Admiral Sunho, came the voice over the fleet communications. Do not let them escape. Hunt them down. The human ships changed tactics again. Instead of fighting in formation, they spread out across the system. Groups of ships began chasing fleeing Vorthans. It was like watching wolves hunt deer. Garrick's flagship was fast, but human ships had been designed to chase targets across interstellar distances. Captain Inwoo of the destroyer Storm Chaser caught up with the Bone Crusher near the outer planets. Vorthan ship, surrender now, Inwoo transmitted. Never, Garrick replied. The Vorthan Empire does not surrender to animals. Then you will die, like animals, Inwu said, and opened fire. The Bone Crusher tried to fight back, but it was already damaged from the main battle. Human weapons tore through its armor like paper. Within minutes, the mighty flagship was a floating wreck. Garrick found himself trapped on his bridge as fires burned around him. His proud fleet was destroyed. His invasion was stopped. His empire's reputation was ruined. "This is impossible," he whispered to himself. "We are the strongest. We are the predators." But as rescue ships came to collect the survivors, he learned a truth that would spread across the galaxy. There were always bigger predators, and the biggest predators of all came from a world so dangerous that just surviving there made you stronger than anything else in the galaxy. On the planet below, the people of Taman III watched the battle through their telescopes. They saw the lights in the sky as ships exploded. They counted the flashes and tried to understand what was happening. Then came a transmission from the human fleet. "People of Taman III, this is Admiral Sunho. The threat to your world has been eliminated. You are safe." In cities across the planet, millions of people began to cry with relief. Children who had hidden in basements came outside to see the stars. Families who thought they would die together now knew they would live together. But the battle was not completely over. Some Vorthan ships had escaped to the edge of the system. They were sending messages back to their empire, calling for reinforcements. Admiral Sunho read the intercepted communications. The messages spoke of revenge, of massive fleets coming to destroy the humans and enslave the galaxy. "Commander Taehyun," she said to her second-in-command, "signal Earth. Tell them we need to contact the Council. This was just the beginning." The Vortans would be back. But now the galaxy would be ready for them. Because the Deathworlders had shown everyone what creatures from Earth could do when someone threatened innocent people. And that was just the start of the war. Supreme Commander Garrick floated in the medical bay of the human ship Iron Will. His body was broken, his ship destroyed, and his fleet scattered like dust in the wind. But his spirit was not yet crushed. "I demand to speak with your commander," he growled at the human medic who was treating his wounds. The medic, a young woman named Dr. Neon, did not look up from her work. "Admiral Sunho will see you when she is ready," she said calmly. "Until then, try not to bleed on my clean floors." Garrick had expected fear from these humans. Instead, he found only cold professionalism. Even their medical staff treated him like he was just another problem to solve. When Admiral Sunho finally arrived, she brought no guards. She stood at the foot of his bed and looked at him like a scientist studying an interesting bug. "Supreme Commander Garrick," she said, "I have questions. For you." "I will tell you nothing, human," Garrick spat. "The Vorthan Empire will send 10,000 ships to avenge this defeat. Your pathetic species will burn." Admiral Sunho nodded to Dr. Neon, who left the room. Then she pulled up a chair and sat down. "Yurori, Empire already knows what happened here," she said. "We intercepted their communications. They are not sending 10,000 ships. They are sending 50,000. Garrick smiled despite his pain. "Then you know you are doomed." "Perhaps," Admiral Sunho said. "But before that happens, you are going to tell me about your slave camps, and your weapons factories, and your planned invasions of council worlds." "Never," Garrick replied. Admiral Sunho stood up and walked to the door. "Dr. Neon," she called, "please prepare the truth serum, the one we developed for interrogating pirates." "Wait," Garrick said quickly. "Truth serum is forbidden by galactic law." Admiral Sunho turned back to him. "Galactic law was written by peaceful species for peaceful times. You declared war on innocent civilians. That makes you a war criminal. War criminals have no protection under galactic law." For the first time since his capture, Garrick felt real fear. These humans did not follow the same rules as other species. They were willing to do whatever was necessary to win. "What do you want to know?" he asked quietly. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Iron Will, the human fleet was preparing for the next phase of the war. Captain Do-hyun's ship had rejoined them, carrying new orders from the Galactic Council. "Admiral," Commander Taehyun reported, "the Council is requesting immediate consultation. They want to coordinate our response to the Vorthan threat." Admiral Sunho looked at the tactical displays. Vorthan fleets were moving throughout their empire. The humans had won one battle, but the war was just beginning. "Signal the council," she ordered. "Tell them we are sending a delegation. But also, tell them this. We fight this war our way, or we do not fight it at all." 3 days later, the council chambers were busier than they had been in centuries. Representatives from all 7 species crowded around the central table. But all eyes were on the humans. General Yuna stood at the center of the room. Behind her, holographic displays showed the current positions of Vorthan fleets throughout the galaxy. The numbers were terrifying. "The Vorthan Empire has 15,000 warships," she began. "They are currently moving them into attack positions. Intelligence suggests they plan to strike at 12 council worlds simultaneously." Counselor Minji leaned forward. "Can your fleet stop them?" "No," General Yuna said bluntly. "We have 800 ships. They have 15,000. In a direct confrontation, we would lose." The council members began talking nervously among themselves. If the humans could not stop the Vorthans, what hope did anyone have? "However," General Yuna continued, "we do not plan to fight them directly." She activated a new display. It showed the Vorthan Empire from a different perspective. Instead of showing ships, it showed supply lines and communication networks. "The Vorthans are spread across 300 star systems," she explained. "Their empire is vast, but it is also fragile. They depend on slave labor to maintain their ships. They depend on conquered worlds to supply their fleets. They depend on fear to control their subjects." Admiral Hyuk stood up. "What are you suggesting?" "We are going to cut their empire apart," General Yuna said. "Not by destroying their fleets, but by destroying their infrastructure. We will free their slaves. We will liberate their conquered worlds. We will turn their own people against them." General Yuna activated another display. This one showed detailed plans of Vorthan military bases and slave camps. The information was incredibly detailed. "Where did you get this intelligence?" asked Counselor Taro. "From Supreme Commander Garrick," General Yuna replied. "He was very cooperative once he understood the alternative." The council members looked shocked. They had expected the humans to treat their prisoners according to galactic law. The idea of forced interrogation horrified them. "You tortured him?" Minji asked. "No," General Yuna said. "We convinced him that cooperation was in his best interest. The Vorthan Empire abandons defeated commanders. He knows they will not try to rescue him. We offered him a choice. Help us end this war quickly or spend the rest of his life in prison while millions more die." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Counselor Wanbin spoke up. "Show us your plan," he said. Over the next hour, General Yuna explained the human strategy. It was unlike anything the Council had ever heard. Instead of glorious fleet battles, the humans planned to fight a shadow war. Small groups of ships would strike at undefended targets. Human special forces would infiltrate slave camps and weapons factories. Propaganda broadcasts would encourage rebellion on conquered worlds. "This is not how wars are supposed to be fought," protested the Kavari delegate. "Wars are not supposed to happen at all," Admiral Sunho replied from her seat. "But when they do, you fight them to win, not to look honorable." The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted to stick to traditional tactics. Others worried about the moral implications of the human approach. But as reports came in of Vorthan fleets approaching council worlds, the choice became clear. "We will support your plan," Admiral Hyuk announced. "What do you need from us?" "Stay out of our way," Admiral Sunho said. "Evacuate civilians from threatened worlds. Maintain your defenses, but let us handle the fighting." As the meeting ended, Counselor Minji approached Admiral Sunho privately. "I need to ask you something," she said. "When this war is over, what happens then? Will humanity demand payment for your help? Will you want to rule the council?" "Admiral," Sunho looked at her with those cold predator eyes. "We do not want to rule you," she said. "We do not want your gratitude. We do not even want your friendship. Then what do you want?" "We want to go home," Admiral Sunho replied. "We want to return to our own space and our own lives. But we cannot do that while there are empires like the Vorthons in the galaxy. So, we will destroy them. Not for you. For us. That night, the human fleet began to split up. Groups of ships departed in different directions, heading for targets throughout Vorthon space. It was the beginning of a new kind of war. On the first night, human ships struck at 3 slave camps simultaneously. Thousands of prisoners were freed. Vorthon guards were captured or killed. The camps were completely destroyed. On the second night, 2 weapons factories went silent. Human special forces had infiltrated the facilities and sabotaged the production lines. Months of work was ruined in minutes. On the third night, rebellion broke out on 5 conquered worlds. The rebels had been secretly supplied with weapons and communications equipment by human agents. Local Vorthon forces were overwhelmed. Emperor Vex of the Vorthon Empire watched the reports with growing rage. His mighty fleets were still preparing for the invasion of Council space, but his empire was falling apart behind him. "Find these humans," he roared at his intelligence chiefs. "Destroy their bases. Kill their leaders." But there were no bases to find. The human ships moved constantly, never staying in one place for more than a few hours. They struck like lightning and vanished into the darkness of space. And with each successful raid, more slaves were freed, more weapons were destroyed, more worlds rebelled against Vorthon rule. The empire that had conquered the galaxy through fear was learning what it meant to be afraid. 6 months after the Battle of Taman III, Emperor Vex stood in the ruins of his throne room. The great palace on the Vorthon homeworld was still standing, but everything else was falling apart. Half his empire was in rebellion. His slave camps were empty. His weapons factories were destroyed. "My lord," his aide whispered, afraid to speak too loudly, "the human fleet has been detected entering our home system." Vex turned to look out the window. In the distance he could see lights in the sky, not the friendly lights of Vorthon ships returning home. These were the cold, harsh lights of human warships. "How many?" he asked. 800 ships, my lord, the same fleet that started this war." Vex laughed bitterly. 800 ships, against his remaining fleet of 3,000 vessels that were still loyal to him. It should have been an easy victory. But nothing had been easy since the humans arrived. In orbit above the Vorthon homeworld, Admiral Sunho stood on the bridge of the Iron Will. Around her flagship, the human fleet waited in perfect formation. They had fought for 6 months without rest. Every ship showed signs of battle damage. Every crew was exhausted. But they had come to finish what the Vorthons started. "Admiral," Commander Taehyun reported, "the Vorthon defense fleet is moving to intercept us. 3,000 ships, including their new Emperor-class battleships." Admiral Sunho nodded. The Vorthons had spent the last 6 months building new ships to replace the ones they had lost. These new vessels were bigger and more heavily armed than anything they had built before. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Implement Plan Omega. Target their command ships first." Captain Kyung-soo of the destroyer Cratermaker received the signal and smiled grimly. Plan Omega was the most aggressive strategy in the human book. It meant accepting heavy losses to achieve total victory. The battle began when the Vorthon fleet opened fire at maximum range. Thousands of energy beams lanced across space toward the human ships, but the humans had learned from their previous battles. Their formations scattered and reformed like flowing water, making it impossible for the enemy to concentrate fire. The human response was devastating. Instead of trying to match the Vorthons beam for beam, they launched waves of projectile weapons. Solid metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. When they hit Vorthon ships, they punched through armor like bullets through paper. But this time, the Vorthons were ready. Their new ships had thicker armor and better shields. The battle became a brutal slugging match, with both sides taking heavy losses. Captain Soo-young of the heavy cruiser Earthquake found herself facing 3 Emperor-class battleships at once. Her ship was tough, but even human engineering had limits. "Ma'am," her weapons officer reported, "forward armor is at 30%. Engine power is down to 60%. Keep firing," Soo-young ordered. "We just need to—" Her words were cut off as another enemy salvo struck home. Alarms blared throughout. The ship as secondary explosions rocked the hull. "Captain," her damage control officer shouted over the noise. "We are losing atmosphere on decks 4 through 7. Su-young looked at her tactical display. The 3 enemy battleships were closing in for the kill. But she was not going to make it easy for them. "All power to weapons," she ordered. "Everything we have. If we are going down, we are taking them with us." The earthquake unleashed every weapon it had. Projectile cannons, missile launchers, and energy beams fired in a continuous barrage. One of the Vorthan battleships exploded under the assault. Another was crippled and began drifting helplessly. But the 3rd battleship landed a direct hit on the earthquake's reactor. Captain Su-young had just enough time to order her crew to the escape pods before her ship exploded in a ball of fire. Across the battlefield, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships fought with desperate courage, but they were outnumbered, 3 to 1. For every Vorthan ship destroyed, the humans lost one of their own. Admiral Sunho watched the battle reports with growing concern. They were winning, but at a terrible cost. Half her fleet was already destroyed or crippled. Then Commander Taehyun brought her unexpected news. "Admiral, we are receiving transmissions from the planet's surface. The Vorthan civilians are requesting protection." "Protection from what?" Admiral Sunho asked. "From their own military, ma'am. Apparently, Emperor Vex has ordered the execution of anyone who refuses to fight. The civilian population is in revolt." Admiral Sunho looked at the tactical display. The space battle was still raging, but now there was also fighting on the planet below. Vorthan civilians armed with whatever weapons they could find were attacking military installations. "Signal Captain Inwoo," she ordered. "Take his squadron down to the planet. Protect the civilian population. Captain Inwoo of the destroyer." Storm Chaser received the order and immediately broke away from the main battle. His squadron of 6 ships descended toward the planet's atmosphere. What they found there shocked them. The Vorthan homeworld was in chaos. Cities burned as civilians fought against military forces. The same species that had terrorized the galaxy was now destroying itself. "This is Captain Inwoo to all Vorthan military forces," he broadcast on all frequencies. "You are ordered to cease fire against civilians immediately. Any unit that continues to attack non-combatants will be destroyed." Some Vorthan commanders ignored the warning. Captain Inwoo's response was swift and merciless. Human ships descended from orbit like angels of death, destroying any military unit that threatened civilians. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Vex watched his empire collapse around him. His fleets were defeated. His people were in revolt. His reign of terror was ending. "My lord," his aide said desperately, "there is still time to escape. We have a ship waiting." Vex killed his aide with a single blow. He would not run. He would not hide. If the Vorthan Empire was going to end, it would end with him on his throne. Above the planet, the space battle was reaching its conclusion. The human fleet had been reduced to fewer than 400 ships, but the Vorthan fleet was completely destroyed. Admiral Sunho's strategy had worked. They had targeted the enemy command ships first, leaving the remaining Vorthan vessels leaderless and confused. "Admiral," Commander Taehyun reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet. Emperor Vex wants to speak with you." Admiral Sunho accepted the transmission. The face that appeared on her screen was that of a broken leader. Vex's scales were dull, his eyes haunted. "Human Admiral," he said, "I offer you the surrender of the Vorthan Empire." "The Vorthan Empire no longer exists," Admiral Sunho replied coldly. "Your fleets are destroyed. Your worlds are free. Your people have rejected you." "Then what happens now?" Vex asked. "Now you face trial for war crimes," Admiral Sunho said, "along with every other Vorthan officer who participated in genocide." The transmission ended. Within hours, human forces had secured the Imperial Palace. Emperor Vex was taken into custody along with his remaining supporters. But the real victory was not the capture of Vex. It was what happened in the days that followed. Across the former Vorthan Empire, liberated worlds began forming their own governments. Species that had been enslaved for generations were free to return to their homeworlds. The galaxy was finally at peace. 3 weeks later, Admiral Sunho stood once again in the council chambers. But this time the atmosphere was very different. Instead of panic and desperation, there was hope and gratitude. Admiral Sunho, Counselor Minji said formally, on behalf of the Galactic Council and all free peoples of the galaxy, we thank you for your service. Admiral Sunho nodded. The war is over. The Vorthon threat is eliminated. Humanity requests permission to return to our own space. Of course, Admiral Hayek said. But we hope this will not be the end of human participation in galactic affairs. That depends, Admiral Sunho replied. Humanity joined the Council 30 years ago seeking peaceful cooperation. Instead, we found a galaxy where peaceful species were prey for violent empires. We have fixed that problem, but it was not a permanent solution. What do you mean? Minji asked. There will be other empires, other conquerors, other threats to innocent people. When that happens, the Council will face the same choice you faced with the Vorthons. You can handle it yourselves, or you can call on humanity. Admiral Sunho walked toward the door, then paused and turned back. You asked for our pity, she said. But pity does not stop genocide. Next time, ask for our justice. As the human delegation left the chamber, Counselor Wanbin spoke quietly to his colleagues. We wanted them to be like us, he said, peaceful and civilized, but they are not like us. They are something else entirely. What are they? Asked the young Kavari delegate. Wanbin looked out the window at the human ships preparing to leave. They are what we needed them to be. They are the guardians we never knew we required. The human fleet departed Council space the next day. They returned to their own territory and their own lives. But the galaxy was forever changed. For the first time in history, peaceful species could sleep safely, not because there were no more predators in the dark, but because there were bigger predators watching over them. And somewhere in human space, Admiral Sunho looked at the reports from across the galaxy. Former slave worlds rebuilding their civilizations, new governments forming on liberated planets, trade routes reopening after decades of fear.